For joining us on The Skeptic Psychic, where we delve into ancient societies, the ghosts, the paranormal, UFOs, all looking at it from the perspective of the true believer and from the skeptic perspective. Joining me, my partner, my co-host, my sibling, Kimber Rodriguez. Myself, I am Richard Gregg. And again, let's look into being the skeptic psychic.
Hello! Thank you once again for coming to the Skeptic Psychic. I'm, of course, your host, Richard Gregg, and with me is the talented, multifaceted, highly intelligent, and very wonderful sibling of mine, my sister, Kimber Rodriguez.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, pretty well. How was your week?
It was okay. Just here and there, looking
And
for a job.
everywhere.
Looking for a new job, and yeah, that's just about it. We started watching Ghost Hunters again, Taps Returns. And it was really interesting because one of the episodes where they went to a week before, Portals to Hell went to that same place. And it was very interesting because the stories like kind of didn't match up. And from with Portals to Hell, it seemed like it was very there was some aggressive stuff, but not too much. But then with Ghost Hunters, it was like more aggressive. And yeah, so it kind of made me wonder, okay, which one's telling the truth here? Is Taps telling the truth, or is Jack telling the truth? What's going on here? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand what you're meaning. I also saw that the Snooze Booger is going to have a new TV show on Discovery with, however, Jack as well.
Which show is that?
They're going to be in search of the elusive hairy big man, a.k.a. the Bigfoot, going across country. Jason Mewes and Jack Osborne together. Once again, the Jaybird and Silent Jack are going to be in search of the Bigfoot, the Sasquatch.
Interesting. I'll have to check that one out.
But to the
book. We don't want people to think that we are promoting Discovery Plus. So why don't we tell people what we're talking about today?
Well, I would like to actually talk about today one of the. Some people say he was a mad genius. Some people say he was just crazy. Some people say he was a wild man. Other people say, well, he was a little bit weird. I'm talking about the man, the myth, whom I like to call Howard Hughes. And the many conspiracies, the UFOs. That before I actually go into that, I would like to go ahead and, with your permission, Kim, designate the month of July. That's only a month away. The whole month to the topics discussing the UFOs. What do you think?
That sounds like a good idea. We can definitely come up with some good episodes to talk about some things that, we have been wanting to discuss as far as, the whole theory of UFOs and what goes along with them. Right. But I agree with only doing it once a month because we don't want people to think we know too much and, have certain eyes on us.
Right. Like I said, it's 11 months or so. We'll discuss all the wonderful conspiracies, the psychics, the ghost hunting, that sort of thing. As for the month of July, because most people consider that as being the renaissance of the Roswell crash. Let's just again, thumbs up if you like it, thumbs down if you don't. Give us topics for that month of July that we would like, if you'd like to hear more about the Majestic 12 or the Corona crash, or even, let's say, Aurora 1908.
Yes, definitely let us know in the comments, or you can also join us in our group, the Skeptic Psychic. Let us know if you'd like us to talk more about aliens in the month of July. You can also comment here while we're streaming live if you like. We do read our comments on air. And I just want to go ahead and let you all know that there are a couple of other ways that you can get shout outs by us other than commenting on our live feeds. One of them is to give us a rating and a review on anywhere podcasts are found, whether it be Apple or Podchaser or Amazon, wherever you feel comfortable listening to your podcast. Give us a rating and review. And what kind of ratings do we like, Rick?
We like five. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars. That's uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, eins, zwei, drei, drei,
Yes.
2, 4, 5, ich, ni, san, chi, go.
We will take any review and rating that you give us, even though we do prefer the five. But you can learn from the bad just as you can the good. And so, yeah, let's just go ahead and get started talking about Howard Hughes. What can you tell us about him?
Not long after the Roswell incident in 1947, a used aircraft employee revealed to his child that not only that Howard visited the site, but has been requested by the military to back engineer a new kind of aircraft that had been shot down or possibly crashed in the desert. Howard assumed it was something that the Russians had cooked up until he got a closer look. Now, despite the mangled remains, the outer material was extremely resistant and impossible to penetrate. Yet the crash looked like it had been caused by an implosion. Mr. Hughes also, according to the source, witnessed the crew. He described them as being dwarfen in appearance or some type of deformed midgets. No details of when this happened, but he wanted this person to, help him to figure it out. According to the person in question, the father was a trusted employee researcher. A few weeks later, Mr. Hughes approached the gentleman again, told the employee, forget about their conversation. The impression that Mr. Hughes implied was that you know, project was a hassle and not enough money to make on the project or a profit or anything like that. However, knowing this person knowing Mr. Hughes so well, uh, that one of the reasons that Howard may have actually passed on the opportunity was one. Howard Hughes was not going to be in control of the situation, or possibly he would have too many eyes looking over his shoulder, which is something again Howard Hughes was not a big fan of, or maybe something had told Howard to back off. Now, in the previous conversation we'd have with Miss Richards, she did say that Howard was very much deep in, deep into that back engineering. So just wanted to bring that up because this man Howard Hughes was a, pretty much was he a genius who strived too high, too fast, only to be overtaken by the crushing mental illness that left him a recluse and a germ obsessed man who turned away from the world and lived amongst the toenail clippings and bottles of urine.
Oof.
Or did the knowledge of alien technology and years of working with secret technology drive him to the insanity? Tell me about Mr. Howard Robarb Hughes Jr.
Yes, for those of you who have not heard of Howard Hughes or have not seen the movie The Aviator starring Leonardo DiCaprio, the real Howard Hughes was born Howard Robard Hughes Jr. on December 24th in 1905. And he's a fellow Texan. He's from
Houston.
Houston. Yes. He showed an aptitude for science, technology, and engineering, and he built Houston's first wireless radio transmitter when he was only 11 years old. He then became a licensed as one of the region's first licensed ham radio operators so he could use it. The following year saw him being written up in the local paper for building a motor for his bicycle, all salvaged from old steam engine parts his father had laying around. And he had his first flying lessons at the age of nearly 14. Now, Howard wasn't the best student, as he wanted to focus only on the subjects that interested him. Wonder if he had ADD too. Hmm.
Maybe.
These included math, mechanics, and flying. His parents both died when he was young, at the age of 19, and he was on his own at that time. He inherited the bulk of his family fortune, left college, and spent the next few years pursuing golf professionally until injuries and other interests, including marriage, changed his path. Shortly after his marriage, he moved from Texas to Hollywood, where
Hooray, 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 Hollywood.
there Hughes began flying modern aircrafts and doing aerial stunts for his own films as he tried a hand at being a filmmaker. It paid off as he had numerous pictures nominated for Academy Awards, and he eventually bought out RKO Pictures, becoming the sole owner of the company. His first marriage didn't survive more than a couple of years, and he began being seen with the starlet draped over his arm wherever he went. He is known to have dated Joan Crawford, Betty Davis. Maybe that's where that feud started. Anyway, I digress. He was
Yes.
also with Ava Gardner, Olivia de Havilland, and Kate Hepburn. Also Hedy Lamarr, Ginger Rogers, Janet Leigh, and Jean Tierney. He said it was said that he was obsessed with Jane Russell, but they maintained a non-sexual friendship for years while he worked at RKO. Also, for us women, it's good to know that he created the first underwire bra. Yes, we have Hughes to thank for that awful contraption that we still suffer through to this day. He had created it for Jane Russell to wear while filming the movie The Outlaw, but she refused to wear it. And I can understand why.
Okay. He was also fiercely political and was known to stop production and scrap films if he felt they weren't showing his anti communist options clearly enough. He also had no problems with shutting down an entire studio for 6 months to have the entire staff completely checked out. If there was hint that a person's character didn't reflect his standards, whether they worked in this canteen or was his leading lady, they were let go and the part had yet to work on was destroyed. Get maybe OCD, maybe, not only did he hold to did he not hold to any political party or another, he would support whichever candidate fit his current beliefs, switching from one politician to another with ease. He bought vast tracts of real estate in Arizona, California, and Vegas. Arizona is where he was going to be his missile creation and testing sites would be located. California was going to be home to his new business designing and building of various aircrafts as well as Vegas. Well, he slowly bought the entire uh, cas- uh, casinos after casinos, targeting those run by organized crime and becoming Nevada's largest employer at the time and for one of the most powerful men in the state. One casino, the Silver Slipper, faced his hotel room, and he became convinced there was a photographer hiding in one of those iconic spinning slippers on top of the building. He paid 5.4 million for the property and promptly had it boarded up.
Yes, one of our listeners says it's interesting that he didn't make it more of a relationship with Hetty. as she was intellectually up for the task.
Yes, I would actually love to talk about maybe in a future podcast about the secret government work that Miss Lamar did during the war and the outcome of that of what we've considered the internet today.
Yeah, that would be definitely an interesting road to take down.
Hmm.
Um, Going back to Howard, though, for now. Oh, Shelley! Hello, Shelley!
Hey!
We're glad you could join us this week again. We
Yeah,
missed you.
going back to him, he purchased ranches, hotels, restaurants, an airline, an airport, thousands of mining claims, and vast tracts of lands for the utopian community he wanted to build in the desert. Sadly, he abandoned the plans at the start of the nuclear testing as he feared the results of nuclear fallout lingering. He was so active, I should say, that he was the one that gave us all night television stations with the start of KTLA as well as the Las Vegas station, which I believe is anyway. Going off that because he just wanted to have something to watch, and also rumor also he also has also been the type of person that actually set up the Hughes satellite company, so that way he could watch his TV wherever he had, being that he had a satellite disc installed to where he can actually watch, you know, what he
Interesting.
wanted to watch. Favorite
Interesting.
movies to watch? Of course, Hell's Angels, not to be confused with the motorcycle group, but a movie about the fighter pilots, and Ice Station Zebra, which is another one of his makings.
Yes, maybe knowing so much that was going on around him, it's easy to see how he got paranoid.
Yes, and of course, all this was happening way before our time.
Yes. After 25 years, he left Hollywood in order to spend more time focusing on his true loves, designing, building, designing, building, and racing his own planes. And he set multiple airspeed records and had 4 serious crashes as a test pilot. One of his final wrecks happened in California. It was the inauguration test for a Renaissance prototype when he had
Reconnaissance.
reconnaissance.
Yes, not a Renaissance, but a reconnaissance prototype.
Well, it was kind of a Renaissance. I
Yes, it
mean,
was,
you
but
know. Okay, a reconnaissance prototype when he had propeller issues. He tried setting down on the LA golf course, but the plane dropped too quickly and he tore through 3 homes in the Beverly Hills neighborhood. He managed to pull himself free of the wreck before collapsing with a crushed collarbone, multiple cracked ribs, a crushed chest, which not only collapsed his left lung, but pushed his heart to the right side of his rib cage. He also had third-degree burns around parts of his body. Even stuck in a hospital bed on opiates couldn't stop him. Hating the feel of the hospital bed, he called his top designers in from the from their other assignments, explained how he wanted the new bed to work and all of the new functions it needed to have, and had them make it. He recovered from his stay before he had a chance to really use it, but the bed became a prototype for for today's electric hospital beds. Wow, what a
he was a
renaissance man!
genius.
What an
Yeah,
innovator! He helped create designs for TWA, and he
right.
did own it at one point, as well as designs for Boeing. He designed for commercial airlines and military machinery. If it had a motor and flew, then he was interested. On a lark, he created an alias and got a job with American Airlines as a baggage handler. He transitioned to co pilot within a short amount of time and stayed with American until his real identity was discovered and he was forced to leave due to the publicity.
Yes. Kind of reminds me of Andy Kaufman, which I think, honestly, a joke because it was filmed. Basically, it was at the height of his career, and he did a little sketch comedy where he worked for months at a as a short order cook, waiter, and busboy at this little Los Angeles dinery. And people are like, "That's Andy Kaufman." He's like, "Yeah, I got to have a job." And he was, according to not only the little sketch, but also people that came in there, he was one of the rudest waiters and busboys that he's ever seen.
Again, back to Hughes. Sorry,
Yes.
tangent. Hughes did win numerous awards for advancing the world of aviation, including 2 Harper Awards, a Collier Trophy, a Congressional Medal of Honor, an Octave Chanute Award, and he was inducted into the National Aviation Hall of Fame, the International Air and Space Hall of Fame, and the Motorsports Hall of Fame. Humorous, all at the same time.
Humorously. That's
Okay.
afterward. But what we really know today about Howard Hughes was how his mental health deteriorated. He was known to have, he was the, how you say, the first one they diagnosed with obsessive compulsory disorder, OCD. Poster child would be a perfect word for that. From a young age, his dinner nightly consisted of a steak and peas, and he would sort the peas out before eating, setting aside the larger ones and only eating a set number of the smaller peas on his plate. He would instruct staff on the proper methods to open a can of peaches, how to sterilize the outside of the can, and to properly remove the label, and how to open it before carefully putting the fruit into a bowl. His phobia of germs probably stemmed from his mother's fear that he would contract polio. She kept him isolated from children and often drilled him in the E worms. He often would handle things while using a tissue or gloves. In his old age, while he was in isolation, it's been reported that he wore empty tissue boxes on his feet to keep himself safe from any germs on the floor. If someone who was ill came near him, he would have his clothes burnt and bought himself new clothes. He famously shuttered himself away into a screening room for 4 months and didn't allow anyone in. He would sit naked in the dark while movies played around the clock. He ate only chocolate bars and chicken and drank milk. And when he had to go to the restroom, the liquid form, he would do it in the empty milk bottles and line them up in a row. He didn't bathe and refused to come out until he was ready to face the world again, which doctors now believe that this might have been due to another medical condition, which is called aliodyhydria, which is when someone feels pain from non-painful stimuli. For example, a person may feel pain from a light touch, either when brushing their hair or uh, just touching their own arm. The movies might have been partially a distraction from the pain. Now, interesting to note, uh, in this day and age with the MCU, Stan Lee's inspiration for Anthony Stark is loosely based on Howard Hughes. Even naming his father Howard was a nod to Hughes himself.
That's actually very interesting because
Yeah.
if you watch the movie where I can't remember if it's 2 or 3, but he's watching the real old reels of his father, and it kind of to me, I mean, this is just my opinion, but to me, the father does loosely kind of resemble an older Howard Hughes.
Yeah. Also interesting to note the fact of if again you look at the Tony Stark in the movies as well as the comic books where he came back from an accident which was testing, that sort of thing, but he remained in isolation for months and years. I mean, the movie kind of lightly touched on that, but until he perfected the Iron Man outfit. And so, according to he didn't bathe, he didn't, to me, Robert Downey Jr. actually, he's always been my choice for Howard Hughes. It
Yeah.
did kind of parallel. Yes, it did, Shelley. Was that Shelley?
There's even controversy about his death. By the end, the brain trauma from his many accidents and suffering from neurosyphilis, Hughes's poor diet, and dependence on opioids, which he dissolved in water and injected directly into his body. All this left him emaciated and suffering from kidney failure. He was traveling from Mexico to the US in 1976 when he died aboard the aircraft. When his body was moved to the morgue, it was covered so no one could see it. But reports were released that the 6'4" giant now weighed less than 90 pounds and was completely unrecognizable. The FBI had to use his fingerprints in order to identify the body. After his death, conspiracy theories abounded saying that Hughes had faked his own death, with one of the conspiracists being a retired assistant Air Force secretary. He claimed that Hughes actually spent the rest of his life under an assumed name and did not die until 2001. Now, why would they say he faked his death? Supposedly, he was tired of all his popularity and wanted to live out a quiet life without fanfare. Ava McClelland claimed to be his wife. She was a poet and God fearing woman, according to one source. He died, according to her, on November 15th, 2001. Now, what about the money?
If you want to get away from it all, sure. Just go to Alabama.
Yes. About the money. At the time of Mr. Hughes' death in 1976, he was worth $2.5 billion. Now, today that's equal to about $11 million. 3 weeks after his death, a handwritten note was found on the desk of an official of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Salt Lake City, Utah. The will, aka the Mormon will, left $1.56 billion to various charitable donations, including $625 million to his own medical institute, nearly $470 million to upper management in his empire and his aides, $156 million to his first cousin, William Loomis, who became the administrator of the estate, and $156 million was allotted for his two ex-wives to be equally split.
Now, the clincher of this that caused such a turmoil to be claimed as false was that a certain amount of 156 million endowment went to one Melvin Dumar. Now, Melvin was a gas station attendant who claimed that in 1967, a disheveled, dirty man he met in the desert uh, on U.S. Route 95, 150 miles north, aka 240 kilometers of Vegas. The man asked him for a ride to the Sands Hotel. Dropping him off there, Mr. Dumar was told by the gentleman that he was Mr. Howard Hughes, and just walked away and back into the hotel. Days after Howard's death, Melvin received an envelope from a mysterious man who left it sitting on his work desk at the gas station. Unsure of what to do and the hesitance of the validity of the will, he turned it over to the LDS Church. However, in 1978, a Nevada court ruled that the will was a forgery and that Mr. Hughes had died intestate, meaning without a will. All in all, the estate in 1983 was split between 22 cousins, including William Lummis, who served as trustee of the Howard Hughes Memorial Institute. So that leaves the question: did OCD result in the death of Howard Hughes? Did isolation result in the death of Howard Hughes? Was it greed and all these family friends and other things? Or was the government protecting him from himself?
So now we leave you all with the question. Ponder what he just asked and let us know in our group, the Skeptic Psychic. We can join this here. Shelley asks, was his estate gone over by the government like Tesla?
Actually, no. During that fight, William actually held very firm on Hughes' aircraft as well as the medical facility. In fact, it was after 1985 when the uh, the medical institute sold the sole remaining parts of Hughes' aircraft to Boeing.
Yes. But again, was this all caused by his mental illness that was brought on from his childhood with his mother, as well as the pain from the accidents that he suffered so many? Or again, was he driven to madness by things he saw, not of this world, that he could not share with the world? Were aliens still contacting him? What are your thoughts and opinions?
Again, there. Side note, around the time I believe it was when they were doing testing in the Nevada desert, uh, one of Howard Hughes' final films was called The Conqueror, which starred uh, John Wayne, Agnes Moorehead. You know, it was about Attila the Hun of all things, and it was filmed there in the Nevada desert around the areas that were, pretty much, I'd say maybe 50 to 75 miles from the nuclear testing sites. And conspiracy noted that many of the people that were in the movie died of cancer. Now, when Howard Hughes would do not only would they be filming out there in the desert around this area, Howard Hughes would actually dig up at least about 25 feet of the ground and spread it across the studio so that way he could get the exact moment. Now, story goes that John Wayne himself actually went out one day of filming with a Geiger counter to see how much nuclear fallout was going around that area. We don't know what the reports were, and in fact, Howard Hughes, shortly after finishing most of the movie, abandoned the project. It was later somebody discovered the prints and released it, I believe, in 1985. Let me check and make sure on that. But yeah, he was a very proponent against the testing as well as any type of nuclear facilities. So that could also be a conspiracy.
Agreed. That is pretty stunning.
1956, it was epic directed by William Powell and written by Oscar Millen, which was also produced by Howard Hughes and Dick Powell. Budget was $6 million.
Yes. Our wonderful researcher Shauna comments, I can't see him towing the line enough to keep his mouth shut if he saw alien stuff. I kind of agree with her on that. He seems like he was very vocal and on his thoughts and his opinions, so I can't
Yeah.
see him keeping it quiet if he did see some aliens.
Well, also, if you remember seeing, well, going back to the Spruce Goose, aka the Herculean, he went to Congress around the time that it was completed, and they were admonishing him for spending so much money on, buying the senator and congressman's dinners and doing all these things, and you know, and he looked him straight in the eye and he says, "Well, that's the way business has been done, and you guys have never complained up until now that what I was doing was wrong in your eyes." So he actually was slapping them in the face, saying, "Yeah, I did it, and you guys didn't complain about it until somebody brought it to your attention."
Yes, Shauna follows up with her previous statement saying he created so much in his lifetime that it's not surprising that people would claim he saw alien technology and called it his own.
Yeah, that may be. But the man had such genius level where he could just take a look at the blueprint, take a look at the project, take a look at the blueprint, take a look at the project, and tell you what was actually, wrong with one, either the blueprint, or two, that what piece was missing from the project.
Now, what I find so interesting is there's like so many people on a genius level that have some kind of either depression or addiction or mental illness. It's like so much knowledge takes up so much of their brain that it kind of takes away from other parts of the brain, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
I mean, look at Einstein, and I mean, Einstein was also a genius, but he was a bit of a kook himself.
Look at Tesla. Tesla was a little bit of a genius. In fact, a lot of his ideas are now coming back into fruitation. He believed in AC, and Edison believed in DC.
Yes, that would.
Alternating currents, direct currents. I should clarify that.
Oh, I was already going to start singing here. Do a little, "Shook Me All Night Long" or "Highway to
Right.
Hell.
It's
But
hell bells.
yes, yes. Shauna, I mean, I'm sorry. Shelley says, "I imagine that it's hard to explain the world you see, and no one else around you can relate."
Hmm.
That makes a lot of sense. But I would love to tackle this topic on maybe a future episode, or maybe uh, in a spin-off or something, maybe a special episode, because I've always been fascinated by the idea of this intelligence, and
Right. It's more.
what.
It's more or less either borderlines into conspiracy as well as esoteric thought processes.
Yes, we should definitely take a trip down that road, because like I said,
Go
I
down
have
that mind hole.
I've always been fascinated by the people that I've read about, or the people that I've personally known that are on a very high intelligence level, and the way their life is, and the way their, you know, mental health is. But as I said, that'll be something to discuss at a later time.
Definitely.
Is there anything else we can touch on Howard Hughes this week?
Yeah, we could actually touch on the fact that he was deaf. He was growing deaf in his old age because of the loud noises of the engines and the space. The space, the final frontier. Okay, but yeah, he was going deaf. He
And
was
that
known to
makes
actually carry a hearing aid in his pocket. which he liked whenever he was taking turn off.
That makes a lot of sense. He was around a lot of engines and everything, and
Right. And our grandfather, James Storms, actually got to meet Howard Hughes back in the year in the 50s. He was according to Mom, our grandfather met him, said he was actually very nice, but a little bit odd. You know, was not the type of person to actually shake hands or anything like that, but uh, really like to talk about the technical side of anything.
now I think I remember hearing that conversation. That was when he was in San Antonio. Our grandfather was a
Aircraft
airplane,
pilot.
yeah, no, an aircraft mechanic.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, that's how he met Hughes and a few other famous people.
Right.
Was he
I
got
believe
to
it
work on
was
their
in Houston,
planes?
however.
Oh, in Houston, not San
Yeah.
Antonio. I apologize for that. But yeah, that's a little. Maybe that's why you're so interested in Hughes. We have that little bit of a family connection there,
Right.
where our grandfather worked on his plane.
Why are there so many family connections? And why can't I sing like Hermit?
Yes. Um, so yeah, what are we talking about next week? Do you remember?
Uh, do I remember? No, I don't.
Next week we are taking a trip to one of my favorite historical landmarks.
We're talking about the wonderful town where many people on both sides of the line have died and have claimed to stay. Gettysburg.
Yes, yes, one of my favorite haunts, so to speak, play on words. So next week we will be talking about the spirits of Gettysburg, and so yeah, we invite y'all to join us here. We will try next week to be on time. Again, I apologize. We had a lot of technical difficulties today. Last week, our loving researcher was sick, so we took some time off so she could rest up instead of doing research for us.
Right.
But
We
next
love
week,
her. She's wonderful.
yes,
She's great.
she's my
If I
new
had a
best friend.
right, if I had a chance, I'd marry her. But then again, I did have the chance. I married her.
And she's my new best friend.
Yes.
So next week we'll be talking about Gettysburg. So you can join us on Facebook to watch us live, or if you prefer, we're also on Twitch as well as YouTube. So you
Mhm.
can reach us at both of those places. Oh, Shelly
Right.
says we love her. Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. You should meet her. And
And
also, I like to say that Twitch station, we've also had we're also on a Twitch station called This Is My Bear.
oh, I have not heard of that.
Yes,
That is new to me.
yes. I just started it today.
Oh, okay. And what do we talk about on This Is My Bear?
This is the first showing of the Skeptic Psychic on This Is My Bear.
Oh, well, there you go. So, yeah, you can check us out there. Again, YouTube. And I just found out that, yes, definitely, Shelly, I will send you links for everywhere we're found. I just found out today that we can also stream live on Twitter. So if you'd like to check us out there, you can. We also are working on getting a Twitch going and
Well,
an
that's what I'm saying.
Instagram.
That's where the Twitch is. This is my bear.
I'm sorry, not Twitch, TikTok.
Twitter, TikTok.
Yes, we're working on getting a TikTok going.
New
Um,
follower, Christine Foster.
yes, we have Christy Foster that joined our Facebook group. We want to welcome her to the group.
Woohoo!
And
Whoopee! And I think Danita actually popped in there and said hello. Hello, Danita, if you hear me.
yes,
This is your nerdy little brother.
but yeah, those are some places you can find us.
This is my bear what?
Not BARE, but BEAR.
Yes.
Yes, Bear is their kitty cat. So, yeah, those are some places you can find us. Yes, you can also find us on our website, info at skept. I'm sorry, the website is Skeptic Psychic, but you can email us at info at skepticpsychic.com. And yeah, is there anything that I missed? Anything I forgot to include? Oh, make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube and ring the bell for notifications. I
Right.
also have some videos on there of my personal ghost stories. Danita, if you're watching, one story may sound similar to you. Names have been changed to protect the innocent.
All right. And also, I like to remind everybody that this is Memorial Day weekend here in the United States, and for those of not have are that have not been with are not with us anymore because they've taken on the uniform and have laid their blood in the path of glory. Let them be remembered, whether you respect what they did or not. But just to know that uh, Armed Forces Day is for those in uniform. Veterans are the ones who have basically have taken off the uniform, and Memorial Day is for those who didn't get a chance to. And
Yes.
with that, we like to say good night and unpleasant nightmares.
Sweet dreams, everybody. We'll see you next week.
All
Bye
right,
bye.
bye bye.
One sec. I'll get us out of here in just a moment, as Richard has already left. I guess he didn't want to wait around, but oh well. Good night, everybody.